Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I said welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I am your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from some unknown bunker, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy. Coming to you live from Bedford Hills, New York.
But doesn't it look like you're ready for an apocalypse?
Yeah, it does.
Kinda.
I got my brother-in-law's like chin up bar behind me on the wall. I'm in their guest room / workout room / his office. But if there's something you should know about my sister and my brother-in-law, like the clutter is out of control. Like this room simultaneously has a bunch of kids' toys, my brother's whole office set up, a chin up bar, like a telescope. I'm like, what is this room?
Next week on Hoarders.
Yeah.
Are they hoarders? No.
They're not hoarders. You know, like you got a kid, but it's funny because my mom had 4 kids. And like our house was like, you know, you go over to sometimes you go over to people's house, they have 1 or 2 kids, and their house is like just in shambles. And they're like, well, we got kids. And I'm like, my mom had 4 kids. All her shit was like away.
Well, you know what the difference is now, too? Kids have so much more crap now. So when we grew up, it was more with siblings. We shared. There was a toy that was passed down. Now it's just kids have so much shit.
And it's weird because kids have so much shit, but also they have like, it's like, oh, the iPad and whatever. It's like, oh, I got to say, and listen, who knows if I'll ever be a parent, but if I'm a parent ever, I'm going to be an iPad parent. I'm going to be like, to me, all that shit, some of that shit is so damn smart. Like, forget all your toys. Just live with, you know, Miss Sally or whatever the fuck her name is.
I'll tell you what, they like my daughter legit learned stuff from Miss Rachel.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of other stuff they don't learn, but if she watches it, and she watches it probably every day, at least a little bit. Yeah, they learn stuff.
Just every room of this place is like kid overflow.
How often do you think he does it? Do you think he actually does that pull-up bar?
Never.
By the way, that's such a dude thing. I love the pull-up bar.
I don't even know how he could. There's a bunch of shit in the way.
I love the pull-up bar that guys never use.
Yeah. And don't get the one you can hang on the door and like take off the door. Paint the 2x4 that you nail to the fucking that you bolt into the wall.
I was just thinking that. I mean,
match the color.
He legit bolted that into the wall.
Yeah. He's big on bolting things.
I mean, if you're gonna bolt that in the wall, you gotta use that every day.
I would bet he hasn't used it a single time since the last time I was here. I mean, it used to have like straps. It used to have like the you know, the like the resistance band strapped to it, and you know, I used to whatever. That's just a place to hang clothes.
Well, it's like when I remember when we had the home inspector before we bought our house. He's checking everything out. I'm following him around the house, and we get to the master bathroom and the jacuzzi tub. He goes, "You're never going to use this." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Man, I'm telling you, I do inspections for a living every single day. You see this and you're like, oh, this is cool." And our house was built in 95. And he goes, that was like a big thing in the 90s. They get the jacuzzi tub. He goes, "You're never going to use this. I'm telling you." In fact, I've seen so many houses where it ends up just being a place to store things. I was like, no, man. After a long run, I would love to hop in the jacuzzi tub. Neither of us have ever used it once. Now there's nothing in it, but
Yeah.
it just proves that point.
Yeah. There should be a rule too. You should have to run. You should have to like go for a run in like 25 of 30 consecutive days before you're allowed to buy like a treadmill. Or like you should have to like have a spin class membership for 2 months before you're allowed to buy a stationary bike. It's just like, hey, should we spend $600 on rocks that we just put in this room and have to avoid?
Well, we have that too. We literally have a bike and a treadmill in a room that's just sitting there. Same thing. And those treadmills to put in, I didn't know until we moved. Have you ever tried to put a treadmill like through a door?
No.
Even when you take it apart, yeah, it's terrible. They're the worst. Like I don't know what's worse. Couches can be a pain in the ass, but you can kind of finagle those or take
But you
off.
sit on them.
Yeah, and you use them all the time. So, I mean, you got me thinking. I wonder if you looked at our country, if you just took the United States, how many houses / apartments or whatever, condos have a room where a treadmill is not being used?
Yeah.
On, let's say, half the month. Not even. Well, maybe it's a place you can sleep on or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where you're sleeping?
No. My sister's out of town, so we're just in her room. But like my thing is, you know me. I'm a fucking tidy guy. I'm like sitting here like after Dirty Sports today, before I gotta work, I did 3 hours of like putting shit away. My sister's gonna be like, "Did you move all my stuff?" Be like, "Yeah, I did. I organized your house." Why?
You're like,
because I'm mentally ill.
it's not like bar rescue. It's like a tidy rescue. Like she's gonna come home and you just have everything reorganized.
The last
Labeled.
time she was here, she was like, "I'm getting a dumpster to throw a bunch of stuff out," and she threw a bunch of stuff out, and like I organized her like laundry room and whatever. She's like, "Why'd you do that?" I was like, "Because now there's like a place for everything." I went down there, nightmare. It's the whole thing's like I was just like, my girlfriend literally said to me, she goes, "You think we have kids that will like you'll be the same way? Like you think you'll still be like crazy?" I was like, "Yeah, I think so. It's for my mental sake, you know."
Well, the thing I've learned with kids, again, just one, but we do a pretty good job of always picking up, because she's the age, she doesn't really understand that yet.
Yeah.
But I've learned if you start from an early age picking up as parents, you'll continue that. But the parents who don't,
well, it's just it's
They
just
just
as
don't.
simple as like you can't get like it's life. Like you can't get behind. Like once you if you leave something out, the next thing you leave out, now you have two things out. It's just the overwhelmingness of having to clean up over and over and over again. It's like at some point in your 20s, your late 20s, for people, like you learn about like that you can't just like put 10 dishes in the sink and be like, "Oh, I'll do them all later," because then you just get overwhelmed. Then next thing you know, you've got 400 dishes in the sink. You've never cleaned it. You and your roommates are fighting. You're throwing dishes away rather than clean them. It's like every time you use something, just clean it.
I mean, I didn't get clean till I was in my mid-30s. Do you remember how I used to live?
Yeah.
I'd say I probably started being clean and tidy.
Like when you renovated the apartment.
Yeah, like mid-30s, 34, 35. It took me that long. I was thinking about it the other day. I slept. I mean, this is pretty gross if you really break it down. When I moved to Las Vegas, I was a poor recent college grad. My roommate who owned the condo just bought a bunch of stuff for his bedroom. So he goes, "Just take my bed, man," which obviously is a move for a 23-year-old who has no money. So I take his bed. That's 2005. I don't know how long he had it. I have that bed there. I take that bed to LA. I have that bed until 2016.
When you got the wood bed.
Yeah, from 2005 to 2016. So I had that bed for 11 years. Who knows how long he had it? I mean, that bed, God knows what was on that.
Yeah. Jizz, Andy. I know what was on it.
Rest in peace.
That's bed?
Well, I bet somebody, I put it out the
died in
dumpster.
that bed?
Well, I put it on the dumpster in Venice.
Yeah.
Somebody's sleeping on it somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably.
Isla did something at my brother and sister-in-law's. I could not stop laughing. It reminded me of Venice. She was so tired. There was like a piece of cardboard out from an empty box. She pulled the cardboard. This is on the floor. She pulled the cardboard, laid it out, and laid on it to sleep. And my sister-in-law goes, "Dude, what is she, homeless? Like, I think you should. I think
you should break dance next."
He goes, "I think you should take her home. I think she's pretty tired." She just pulled out a cardboard box, laid it flat like a homeless person you'd see where you used to live, and just laid her head down like she was ready to go to sleep. I was like, "Yeah,
time for the little girl to go home."
Like it's time to get in a real bed." But good to know that you could survive on your own because you've already figured it out. You want to jump into some sports stuff?
Yeah. What's going on in the sports world?
We're in that period,
We're in that period. It's funny. We're so in that period that I am into Giants Hard Knocks. Now I'm like, all right, I literally have nothing else to watch.
So you are watching it?
Yeah. I don't know if there was a fourth one that came out yet, but I've watched all three. As of 2 days ago, there was only 3. And I'd watched all 3.
Well, I've already stopped, and I don't think I'll go back on receiver. I made it 2.5 episodes.
Not great.
Well, I just it doesn't move the needle enough for me.
Did you finish quarterback? Did you ever get through all the way through quarterback?
Not even close. Maybe 3 episodes.
Yeah, same. It might be like an oversaturation. Like there was a time where that shit came out, we would have watched it, no doubt about it.
Well, I just and not that, like I said, the receivers are more interesting than the quarterbacks that they had, but I just okay, so you're a football player, and then you go to work, and then I see your family, and then I see you know another reason where I think it sucks. I'm seeing last season, which I already know, and I don't care.
Right.
So I'm seeing Justin Jefferson get injured. I'm seeing the struggles the Raiders are having with different quarterbacks. So it's frustrating. Devontae Adams. It's just that doesn't, because my mind is already like 2024 NFL season. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
So I think that's a major flaw of that, is that it's not in real time. Whereas Hard Knocks is basically in real time.
Yeah.
Minus the one you're watching.
Yeah. And even that, I mean, it's in real time in somewhat of a sense, you know what I mean? It's not like it's, you're not watching something from last year. You're watching something from last month.
So we do have a little quarterback update as we speak.
Ooh, okay.
11 minutes ago. Jordan Love will not practice at training camp until his contract is finalized.
Wow.
Extension. However, the GM, Brian Gutekunst, I don't know how it's pronounced, said he thinks they're getting close and both sides are working hard at getting a deal done.
Good. Get paid, I guess.
I wonder what that deal, he's an interesting one because he really came on at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You forget that he's already up for one because he sat all those years.
Yeah.
So what does somebody like him get? If you look at quarterbacks, here's an interesting one to compare. So Jordan Love won a playoff game, was very close to winning 2, played great in that run, played pretty well in the playoffs. How does he stack up contractually compare to Justin Herbert, who has way more seasons, way better stats, never won a playoff game? That's kind of an interesting discussion. You just take 2 guys like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it just feels like it feels like even if you're Jordan Love, that it feels like in the NFL today, if you're getting a contract to play quarterback after your rookie deal, that he's going to get $50+ million a year. And it's like, if he had one good game, if he had two good games, if he had no good games, that it really comes down to, like, you want this guy to be your quarterback long term. I guess you're giving him $55 million a year for 4 years. He's going to get a 4-year, $237 million contract with 170 guaranteed.
Yeah. But again, I like Jordan Love, and I do think he is their next franchise quarterback. It's kind of wild to think he'd be getting all that money already.
But you draft a guy and you sit him. The idea is, hey, eventually it's going to be you. They're the ones deciding. They're essentially the ones saying, we'll have to make a contract decision on you, with less games to evaluate. But that was our choice, not your choice. I mean, listen, people can talk about his, draft stock all they want, blah, blah, blah. But we did the thing. We did the thing with Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones. And it was like, well, his first year, he was with Urban Meyer, so that doesn't count. He was trash, blah, blah, blah. And then, he had a second year, and they, they won a playoff game. And then the third year, like a little bit of a regress. But, and then you're like, I guess we're giving him the most money of a quarterback ever. Because he's going to be the franchise quarterback. So it's like, it almost doesn't matter what you do. It's just a matter of whether or not you are, like, the team is committed to you going forward. And if they are, then you get the most money that's ever been given, or you're going to get in that range. Like, Jordan Love's going to get over $50 million a year. Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking. I knew he came on. He really came on strong at the end of the year.
Well, like, what is, what are they saying, like, what the contract, like, numbers are looking like? Where are they're close on what?
I'm not seeing numbers. I mean, he came on really strong. That was his first full year as a starter, which, to be honest, you almost forget. Played great against Dallas, that first playoff game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You would think it would be in
he's going to get over 50, right?
You would think.
That? Is he going to get over 60? I guess is the question.
I don't know. It's good. That is a good question.
Just found me a light, Andy.
I think with Jordan Love, you have such an upside, and you've seen a stretch. If you pull up last year's games, I mean, he had a stretch of basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He played great that 7 of the last 8 games of the year. So almost half the season. Has a great first playoff game. Damn near perfect QB rating almost in that game against the Cowboys. I would pay him. It sucks, but he's 25. He's in his prime. You're in a division now with the Lions, who obviously are the team to beat. You have a great potential with the Bears having their franchise quarterback to be competitive here in the next few years.
I'm going 4 years, 217, 100 and 125 guaranteed.
I think he gets more than 125 guaranteed.
He gets the 3 years guaranteed. He get like 160, 162 guaranteed. 4 years, 217, 162 guaranteed.
He'll probably get at least 40 million a year guaranteed. Oh, with 3 years, yeah. I don't know. That'd be over 50 million guaranteed. I mean, I've said it, and I haven't shied away. They are my pick to win the division.
You picked them last year.
I did. I'm gonna pick them again this year. I just think that I know everyone says, "Oh, Ruther and his Lions hate." I just think it's tough to repeat in the NFL, especially when the pressure's on you. I don't think the Lions had much pressure on. Everybody was projecting them to be good, but that wasn't the quote unquote pressure.
Right.
Now you have legit pressure. And talk about a run that the Packers have had with quarterbacks. It'd be tough to argue any other franchise if Love is the guy and he seems like he's going to be the guy to go 3 straight. Favre, Rodgers, Love. You never see that.
Yeah.
If they don't, again, it doesn't seem like they've missed on him. If they don't miss on him, that's insane to hit on 3 straight guys for that many years in a row. I want to talk about Lamar Jackson for a minute based on this interview or press conference, I should say, that Harbaugh had yesterday. So it's a long one, and we'll just break it down. It's 3 minutes. The reporter asks him about Lamar and the criticism and the things he faces with them losing in the playoffs and whether it's deserved. So Harbaugh gives a really long interview defending his quarterback, which I think he should. Harbaugh, stuck his neck out for Lamar. They draft him. He decides to bench Flacco. He's had Lamar's back since day one. That's his guy. So he should back his guy. But it's pretty interesting the things he said. I felt that we could kind of pick it apart. So this is, again, yesterday, I think, because today was the start of training camp. So this is what he had to say.
Whenever you don't reach that ultimate goal, there's going to be some criticism. And a lot of criticism gets directed at the quarterback, Lamar. And you've always been very supportive of Lamar. How do you kind of address that criticism?
Okay, so it's tough to hear. He just said
address that criticism of Lamar.
Yeah, how do you address it? Because it's all directed at him when you guys lose.
That's a great question. It's like, you ever heard the old saying, you guys played sports, they used to tell you don't read your press clippings, right? We don't really have press clippings anymore. We got the phones and the computers. Press clipping, at least if it was bad, you could throw it up and throw it in the trash can. Now I want to. So I do flip through them, to be honest with you. I read the stuff. I see the guys say what they say on the shows. At least I get clips of them because they come up on your phone. And the good ones I just scroll past because, that's candy, that's not real. But the bad ones, it's like you wrote, I read it right away, and don't let it go. And that's okay. That's part of the deal. And Lamar, for whatever reason, there's a lot of great things said about Lamar, but there's a lot of stuff that's said that you got to just scratch your head about and kind of wonder, what's that person even thinking, So
I want to stop it here for a second. One, I appreciate that he admits that he reads it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of coaches would not admit that, Prano, that he is seeing the tweets, the Instagram posts, the memes, whatever it is. He's saying he sees it and he reads it. I think a lot of guys, well, actually, I guess that begs the question. Do you think a lot of, not players, and we'll talk about head coaches, do you think a lot of head coaches look at that? I feel like
I think more and more now. I think I would say the last 10 years or so has been a transition. You think about a guy like Bill Belichick or Tom Coughlin or whatever, or Andy Reid or stuff like that. Like the older guys who are kind of like left or are leaving soon or whatever. Those are the guys who have grown in the social media era. And so it was like, oh, and we all know people like this. Like, I never got a Facebook. I just never did it. Then you have the younger guys, and Harbaugh is like probably the older of the younger. Like he was pretty, he was considered one of the young up and coming coaches not that long ago. Now he's been around a while, but like you essentially can't be. And if you watch any of these behind the scenes now, if you watch like the Giants Hard Knocks, or if you watch like the Hard Knocks with like the Cardinals, if you watch any of these things, like you have to be on your phone. Like if you're going to be in business today, if you're going to be the GM of a team or the head coach of a team or whatever, like you need to use all the technology just like everybody else. You can't just be like, I'm old school. You need me. You send me a Post-it note. It's like, no, like you need to be on your phone. And so as more and more things like in life, just in having a job, whether that be, they're emailing their schedule for the day to everybody. And it's like, well, you can't say you didn't see it because we sent it to your email and it was in like the company Slack or whatever. Yeah. Like as more and more things become, we're going to use your phone as something to have. You're going to watch your highlights on the iPad. As technology becomes more and more an everyday part of it, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, all these guys, like even the older guys, like they're going to have to be on their phone. And then I think it's just impossible to avoid that stuff. Next thing you know, that's the thing about the social media apps is like, oh, if you got a phone, we'll get you. Like we'll open it up. We have an algorithm. So like, John Harbaugh, the first thing he's going to see when he opens his algorithm is some Lamar Jackson shit. Cause now they know what he's watching. So I just think it's impossible to be in coaching today or in any aspect of sports today and not be like, all right, I'm on my phone all the time. Like you watch the Giants Hard Knocks thing, Joe Shane is just, everything's on his phone. He's doing all the things. So now I just think it's impossible not to see it. You probably have like the Andy Reid type who's still like, I don't tweet or whatever. But everybody else, like if you're a coach that gets hired in the next however long, like you're just going to be a guy who's aware of social media and somewhat active on it. If you're not like posting stuff, you're watching shit.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's keep it going.
But we take it personally. Lamar's a guy all his life. Lamar Jackson has been a guy who's been answering those same questions. I'm talking about since he was a kid, junior high, high school, college, the draft, the success he's had in the National Football League, and it still comes up. Okay? Now, he's still growing. He's got a growth mindset. He's going to get better and better, no doubt. But what does he have to do to prove himself to some people, right? And so the thing for me is it's talking about vision again,
Yeah. I mean, he does. And obviously, again, that's his guy. And I think Harbaugh's a smart guy. I think he's a great coach. He's a top 5 NFL coach, in my opinion, without a doubt. But what I find interesting is Lamar's had a great career, no doubt. The 2 years he won the MVP, he's got 1 playoff win in those 2 seasons.
Lamar Jackson isn't Trevor Lawrence in that he's not on the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's not on, the Cincinnati Bengals. He's not on the Cleveland Browns. You're on the Ravens. I mean, first of all, Joe Burrow, we just said the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow got to a Super Bowl. But you're on a franchise that has 2 Super Bowls in their history. They've existed since 2098, some shit like that. Like it's not.
They're not even 30 years old.
They're not 30 years old. They have 2 Super Bowls. They're constantly, almost essentially their entire existence, they've been in contention. They're a very, very well-run franchise. You replaced a quarterback who won a Super Bowl. You won multiple MVPs. The idea of like the idea of questioning, what else does he have to do? It's like, we know what he has to do. He has to win a Super Bowl.
96, by the way.
Yeah.
When they moved. That was their first season.
We know what he has to do. Like, why are you pretending like that's not the answer? The answer is win a Super Bowl. Well, the answer is get to a Super Bowl. The answer is playing the AFC Championship game every year. Like, football is such a game of like inches and whatever. It's like, I'm not saying if Lamar Jackson doesn't win a Super Bowl that his career has been some sort of a bust. I'm not saying that. But so far, you're not Patrick Mahomes. You're not in the AFC Championship game every single year. Because guess what? If you were and you were losing to Patrick Mahomes, it would explain things because we'd be going, oh, like you're Patrick Ewing to Jordan. Like you're just going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals every year, or you're going to lose to Jordan in the second round. Like, Patrick Ewing was so criticized because he never got a championship. He was losing to the guy every year who went on to win the championship. Like there was a lot of years the Knicks were the second best team in basketball. Lamar Jackson's not only losing to Patrick Mahomes every year.
Yeah, and that's where my criticism has always kind of lied with him. And I think everybody's at this point. Everybody at this point knows Lamar can have great regular seasons. We've never seen a guy like Lamar. And I always recommend, if you haven't seen Lamar live, see him. Now, I'm at this stage as a old man, like I feel I love watching games from home. I love watching NFL from the comfort of my own home. But he is a player that I would highly recommend, and I've seen him multiple times now. I would highly recommend seeing Lamar Jackson live because he's that exciting to see live. He's one of those guys that I feel great to see live. But with all that being said, you're 100% right. You got to win a Super Bowl, man. And it comes down to that. You've done everything else. You've won two. You've been a full-time starter for only 5 years in the NFL. You've won 2 MVPs. It's a very short list of multiple MVP winners in NFL history. You're one of them. You haven't even been to a Super Bowl, though.
There's a vision. And I believe the Ravens and we've always had a vision for Lamar Jackson. It started with Lamar's vision and his mom's vision when he said he was going to be a quarterback. He was going to be a quarterback in high school. He was going to be a quarterback in college. He was going to be a quarterback in the National Football League. And we bought into that. We embraced it. We built an offense for it at 19. We're building another offense for it in 23 and 24 going forward, right? The next iteration of our offense around Lamar Jackson. Because in my opinion, the vision for Lamar Jackson, and it's a vision, it's something you see it like it's already happened. You can see it like it's already been done. The victory has already been won when you pour into a vision. And the vision that we have together is that Lamar Jackson is going to become and be known and be recognized as the greatest quarterback ever to play in the history of the National Football League. That's the vision, all right? It's going to happen by Lamar, his work ethic, and his brilliant talent, by all of us pouring into that effort together as a team, teamwork, and by the grace of God and God's goodwill.
I mean,
that's how it's going to happen. And I believe it like we've already seen.
So here's my thing on this. Oh,
quick follow-up here. Patrick Mahomes owns him. Quick follow-up. The vision I'm seeing is that that quarterback already exists. He exists on the Chiefs. He's got 3 Super Bowls already. Coach, quick question. Guy that's also in your conference. The blueprint is there. He's already doing it. He's already breaking all the records. He keeps going to Super Bowls every single year. He's in the AFC Championship game. Coach, one question about this vision. Coach, one question about this vision. What about the other guy? What about the best quarterback we've ever seen who's playing concurrently with Lamar Jackson and has more Super Bowl wins than Lamar Jackson has playoff wins? Coach, quick follow-up. How is somebody the fastest man alive if they keep finishing second in races to a different guy? Coach, how does this work? Quick follow-up, Coach.
And you lose me when you bring up and by the grace of God. Like what, dude? Like here's my thing. Don't bring that into it. No one's picking favorites with quarterbacks if we're gonna bring in the God thing. I don't like that. And the vision, he's saying we've already seen it. You're right, we have. Like you said, we've seen it with Mahomes, but we've already seen it with Lamar Jackson. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying that he can't win a Super Bowl.
Me either.
He perfectly can. But it's really tough. How great was their team last year? Both sides of the ball. Number one defense. They had an insane defense. You're not going to always.
They lost to Mahomes at home.
They couldn't do anything on offense. He has melted in the playoffs so far. Now, look, guys can turn that around. Peyton Manning turned it around. He won a Super Bowl.
It goes back, it goes back to the same thing, Andy. And you, not to throw you under the bus here, but you ignored it when I said it with Russ. It was a different thing. Peyton Manning is a great example. But then there's the other guys, who've done it with far less. It's like the people who look at the quarterbacks who won when their defenses were meh. Russ is a winner. That's what you always just say. Yeah, his first 5 seasons, he had the number 1, the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and the number 4 defense in the league in the first 5 years. Lamar Jackson regularly has a top 5 defense. So you're on this contract to start your career. You regularly have a top 5 defense. You have pretty good weapons. You don't have like the world's best weapons, but you have pretty good weapons. And you don't get it done. And how long do you get to go in your career with a top 5 defense and not get it done before they go, maybe it's not the supporting cast? I crack your beers, guys. It's a Monday. Dirty Sports drinking game. The audacity for Giants fans to have to hear regularly that Eli Manning was carried by his number 17 and number 25th ranked defenses. But Lamar Jackson doesn't have enough weapons.
You know what's interesting about Baltimore, too? And I know it's just one game. But I was at that playoff game. What would it have been? It would have been a 2023 playoff game, 2022 season, where the Bengals were for sure going to lose until that fumble happens at the 1-yard line. My point is, they were going to win that game without Lamar. Now they didn't, so I guess I'm playing the what-if game, and maybe that's stupid. But you alluded to it earlier, and it's true. That is a system that the Baltimore Ravens had, and they've had consistently. Harbaugh's, I just looked it up out of curiosity. Harbaugh's first season was 2008. They've had 2 losing seasons since 2008.
And look at what Mahomes did. Look at the Chiefs, and this is a different defense. Defense, let's just talk about Patrick Mahomes if he's had a top 5 defense his whole career.
He'd win a Super Bowl every year.
Right.
They won last year. They were top 5 defense.
Right.
And the Mahomes, and that's it's just, he's got to be in the conversation every time we do this. He just has to. Every time we do this with quarterbacks, especially if you're in the AFC, you have to go through Patrick Mahomes. That is so tough. So tough. He's only lost to Brady and Burrow, if we're going to break it down by quarterbacks. He's only lost to 2 guys ever in the playoffs. And last year, they go on the road to Buffalo, to Baltimore. Now Mahomes has that personal confidence. Remember how bad the weapons were?
We do the same thing, and you know, there's this whole conversation of like running quarterback. There's this whole conversation of like race. There's this whole conversation of like injuries. There's this whole conversation of whatever that we have around Lamar Jackson, and people act like we don't do this with other quarterbacks in the exact same way. Dak Prescott. What else does Dak have to do? I don't know. Appear in a Super Bowl? Win a playoff game every year? Not get fucking boat raced at home? Like, why are we acting like the bar isn't set for everybody? Like, it's a Super Bowl or a bust league. Jared Goff played in a Super Bowl and played in an NFC Championship game with two different teams. And I'm not the world's biggest Jared Goff fan. But people go, Goff ain't it. And I'm like, you're right, Goff ain't it. In my opinion, Goff ain't it. But he has achieved with two different teams more than Dak has with the Cowboys, more than Lamar has with the Ravens. I don't give a fuck. Here's the thing. It's so much different than basketball. And it's certainly so much different than baseball. Like, your personal accolades are great, but the name of the game is like you're the leader of the offense. Like, I actually don't give a shit about your stats nearly as much as I give a shit about you leading a team.
Well, I think that's an important point, especially come playoffs. A lot of us don't turn the ball over. Adapt
Totally.
Adapt to what your team does. Look what Mahomes did. If you go back and watch that AFC Championship game against the Ravens last year, he didn't do anything spectacular. He also did not turn the ball over.
Listen, I as you know, I'm friends with a couple Eagles fans, and one of them's like, Dave, who you know, is like, Jalen Hurts may have had the best Super Bowl performance by a quarterback of all time. I was like, except the untouched fumble for a touchdown that cost him the game? Like, I'd rather my quarterback throw for 150 yards with one touchdown and no turnovers than have PFF's top-ranked game that includes the single, untouched, unforced error that cost you the game.
It's Tom Brady's whole early career.
Yeah. It's honestly, like, if you go through it, every winning quarterback's career ever, like,
but it is.
There's not a ton of those games. Like, you get to the Super Bowl, there's not a ton of those games where some guy like played horrible, carried by his team.
It's true.
Because the Trent Dilfers and the Brad Johnsons and the, Jeff Hostetler's and whatever that were carried by a defense or whatever, like, they played good mistake-free football games. It might not have been pretty, but it was mistake-free football games where they didn't put themselves behind the eight ball. So you have a gaudy stat line because you have a shootout with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but you have an unforced error and the other guy doesn't, you lose.
Especially if they get 6 points off it, like they did in the Hurts case. Yeah. And to me, that would be the next progression from Lamar Jackson. There it is right there. It's play a game like you did last year against the Chiefs. That's a defensive battle. You come back, and then he throws just a terrible pick in the end zone, just a forced pick. That's what you have to avoid to kind of take that next leap.
You look at, like, we were just talking about the Tom Brady, right? The Tom Brady, this is what Tom Brady's career. Now you look at the two Super Bowls he lost to the Giants, right? The Giants were just like, hey, let's just have no one break each other's serve until the fourth quarter. And then just like give ourselves a shot. That was like the strategy. It was like, let's give ourselves a shot, and then at the end of the game, we'll see who can come. Like they knew they couldn't. We're not going to go out and get a 22-point lead on the Patriots and try to hold them off. You're not going to get a 25-point lead on Mahomes and hold them off. You know, like it's not going to happen. What you have to do is hang right there and then be the one that doesn't blink. And Lamar Jackson's defense kept them in the game. And Patrick Mahomes' defense kept him in the game. And shocker, which guy didn't blink?
And I think guys get caught up I agree with you, in the stats so much. But again, playoff time, it's just not always about that. It's not. That's where somebody like a Barry McCockiner is 100% wrong, in my opinion. Just 100% wrong when he's critical of these guys. He's been so critical of Burrow, same way. On that Bengals Super Bowl run, Burrow didn't have what you would call standout stats. He also had a defense that got 8 turnovers that playoff run. So don't turn the ball over.
Right.
And he didn't.
Right.
And they go to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And that's probably why he's so critical of Brady. Because he just didn't have those standout stats. Look, he's still young. Lamar's still so damn young. So there definitely is room.
But the shitty part of the conversation is like, you guys force this conversation to act like the media and social media, everybody's out to get Lamar Jackson. It's like Lamar Jackson's the one that demanded all the money. You're the one that's saying he's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. You're the one that's, saying he won an MVP. What else does the guy have to do? Like, it's so obvious. Be there year in and year out. Just constantly be. Again, if you're losing to Mahomes, who in my opinion is the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, if you're losing him to the AFC Championship every year, then it's a Michael Jordan situation. But you're not.
Okay, real quick. AFC North, I think you have 4 just you're not going to find a tougher division, at least we haven't recently, but I think you're not going to find a more interesting storyline at quarterback for all 4 teams, right? You have Lamar Jackson, we just covered it, where he's at. You have Deshaun Watson, who started to show a little old Deshaun Watson before he gets hurt. He's been pretty much a bust since he went to the Browns. You have Burrow coming off another season-ending injury, and then you have the Steelers with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. So I'd argue you have 4 just completely different yet very interesting storylines. Which one do you think is the most interesting?
What's the most interesting storyline for
you at the quarterback position or for that team?
Like, to me, it almost has to be like, weirdly, it almost has to be the Steelers, but only because what's the story with Lamar? Like, we're just doing it again. Like, it's not right. The Lamar, the tale. We're in season 5 or whatever of Lamar Jackson, and the storyline remains he's not respected enough. And it's like, okay, cool. I guess go win another MVP and not 2 playoff games, and we'll just do this again next year. Like, I've seen this fucking story. You know what I mean? To Joe Burrow, I mean, you're coming back off an injury. Obviously, he was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Both of us picked him to be MVP last year. But, like, is the story that he's coming back from an injury? Is the story, can he be his old self? Is the story, this is the last hurrah with the wide receivers? It's like, really, if Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback next year and wins a couple playoff games, but doesn't win, we're just like back to what Joe Burrow was, right? Like,
yeah.
And then you know, the Browns are the Browns. They played really well without Deshaun Watson last year. So that's a more intriguing storyline because it's like, if you can get back to the Deshaun Watson that we saw in Texas, but your team can play as well as it played with a Joe Flacco, like the storyline's interesting there. Is like, did they play that well because it was him, or did you guys gel and you were gonna play that well no matter what? And now a great quarterback pushes you over the top. But the Steelers are a team that is a borderline playoff team, and in the playoffs, like the last few years, with pretty mediocre quarterback play. Now you've gone out and you've got a guy that everybody was like, oh, lock Hall of Famer before he went to Denver. And you go out and you get a guy who everybody thinks has this like crazy athletic upside and teams think blah, blah. And the fact that they're both there in the quarterback room, and they're going to be like, if Russ doesn't show up, like you have this other like crazy, you know, dynamic option behind him. It just, the like, I'm not sure the Steelers are the best story if it's just one of them, but with both of them there, to me, they have to be the lead story.
You make a good point.
From quarterbacks alone.
I really find that Cleveland thing interesting, though.
Yeah. I would say that's second. Just
because even if we get at some point a 90% Deshaun Watson of the past with that defense, with how they're built to run the ball, then you suddenly have an extremely difficult team. They went 11-6 last year. I mean, I think people forget they didn't just make the playoffs. They went 11-6.
Yeah. And
when that defense plays how it can, that's what makes the division so interesting. But you do make some good points. I think I forget that if Russ sucks, you just slide in Justin Fields. And then that is an interesting dynamic with those two. We all know Russ didn't like them going after Fields because now he's got somebody right behind his back.
Yeah.
Now, some guys that motivates them, some guys that hurts them. But like, if you ask me today, the overall consensus is, from what I've seen, like Steelers will finish last in the division, which literally might mean 8-9 team. Like last year, every single team had a winning record. So I don't know what that means record wise. By the way, speaking of that division, I need an update on the house with Randy Ruther.
Randy's crushing it with the dogs, and by crushing it, I mean like, you know, no bad updates. Seemingly everything's going pretty swimmingly. You know, Justin was, I think, excited to get out of the city. You know, he's in North Hollywood. He lives in a house with a couple other dudes. I think he was excited to just like get out to the burbs a little bit, get a little relaxing time. I mean, he's in a pretty big house, with two dogs just chilling. You know, Randy though, like he was like, where do I go? Where can I go and have a beer and some dinner? Like, oh, what's like, you know, he's looking for his local watering hole. He's looking for his Bear Burger. He's looking for his, you know,
Hananos,
his Thunderbird. Like the dude likes to go out. And I was like, oof, I don't know what to tell you. Not on my side of town. I was like, you should have brought your car, because you gotta go over to like Oxnard Shores or something like that. Because like, I was like, where I'm at, I was like, I would go to the hoagie spot across the street, maybe pick up a 6-pack. I was like, you live in Mexico, bro.
No fool.
But I think he's chilling. And so far so good.
Good.
Yeah.
No tiger stripes painted on your dogs?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, super big shout out to Randy Ruther for doing some dog sitting this week. It's a lot of, you know, going away for a long time. It's like a lot of you know, it relieves a lot of stress, as it always did whenever you took Vince. That was huge back in the day too. You know, it's like to have somebody you trust. It's just like one less thing you have to worry about. And so Shout out to Randy. I wasn't sure how he would fare, but seems so far so good. And then we've got Sam Goldstein tapping in, I think today or tomorrow, which will be nice. He was supposed to tag out Justin, but I have a feeling we're gonna have a stepbrother situation when those two get together. Like next thing you know, they're gonna be playing Nintendo Switch in my living room. Do we just become best friends?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, I could throw in that mix. I'm more play his call. He sounds like somebody who would fit in that. He'd be just the oddball. Alex from Kentucky.
Oh,
Bro,
yeah.
I think at this point, I'm saying troll.
Wow. And now, are you retroactively saying that this whole time it's been troll?
I don't know. When you hear the call, you want to say moron, but you just, we're back where we started with him. We're back to this insane takes about Vrabel and his team. I mean, it's just, here we are.
What's up, Andy and Joe? Alex from Kentucky. I am so excited for Monday because you know what starts on Monday? Tennessee Titans training camp. You better start showing the Tennessee Titans some firm respect. We're going to the playoffs this year. We have Will Levis. We signed Calvin Ridley, a center, Lloyd Cushenberry. We still got Big Jeffrey Simmons, one of the top defensive tackles in the league. We got L'Jarius Sneed, the cornerback. So sick of the Vrabel lecturers. He got fired because he couldn't adjust, and he was so arrogant with our quarterback. But Will Levis, he's going to be the guy. I know. I'm so excited. So start showing the Titans some respect. Fuck Mike Vrabel. Condoms are for pussies. Ho, ho, ho.
Is it Christmas time? Why did he throw in the ho, ho, ho?
I have no idea.
So there's so much hate for Vrabel, which again, I don't understand if he's being truthful, unless now, actually, I don't know after hearing this call again. I don't know if this is troll or if this is moron. You put it out there. Let's go back to what you said. I believe you said something along the lines, and I would totally agree. I would do this with you as well. Like, let's do a bet. What did Vrabel do versus, again, the offensive coordinator from the Bengals who wasn't even calling the plays?
I believe if I'm not mistaken, over the last 5 years, Vrabel won 54 games. I think that's the number.
I'm gonna look it up.
And I'm taking all wagers on anybody who wants to bet on over 54 games over the next 5 years.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 years. It was 6 years.
And how many games did he win?
He won 54 games in 6 years. So 9 games a year. 54 games in 6 years.
How many games did he win last year?
6. It was his worst year.
So if you don't win 6 games this year, you're already off pace big time.
Made the playoffs 3 of the 6 years. 1 AFC Championship game. I mean, you already said it, and I agree. Like, their current coach, he's not going to last. Their current coach isn't going to last.
We have AFC South. We've got,
you got an easy division.
Somewhat easy division, but everybody apparently loves and believes in Trevor Lawrence. Indianapolis has, a young quarterback, and they looked dangerous last year before Anthony Richardson got hurt. And then you got CJ Stroud and the Texans.
Oh yeah, I do. I'll be honest. I don't know why I always forget about those guys. So it's not really an easy division. It's very competitive. Now, the people he named, they did make some upgrades. Clearly, they made some upgrades. But you lose Henry.
I don't have really strong opinions on Will Levis. Okay.
I don't either.
I don't have really strong opinions on Will Levis. We had a small sample size last year of Anthony Richardson. Okay. Do you think Will Levis is better than C.J. Stroud or Trevor Lawrence?
Not right now. No. Why? I mean, that'd be insane to say that.
So at absolute best, they have the third best quarterback in the league in their division.
Yeah. With a Nepo baby coach. Let's call it what it is. Daddy was an NFL coach forever, so he gets a job as, let's put in air quotes, the OC of a team, doesn't call the plays, gets hired, brings his little daddy along. I mean, NFL fans are hilarious to me, the spins they do. Like one of the spins, I don't know if you saw this from the Titans fans, was how good his dad was as an offensive line coach with the Browns, because and truthfully, they have. We know that they've always had a great running game the last few years. But my thing always is it really that? Is it really the technique that this guy's teaching? Come on.
Maybe.
Really?
And guess
Really?
what? And guess what? Derrick Henry's gone.
Well, it's the same argument.
It'd be a lot stronger argument if you were like, we have Bill Callahan and we're gonna run the fuck out of the football, and Will Levis is a young quarterback and we're gonna try to make him not make mistakes and we're gonna play defense. But you know why you can't make that your MO? Because that's what Vrabel did. So now your best chance of winning with a young quarterback and a great offensive line system is gone because you got rid of the running back that you could rely on. So I guess we're going to air it out. I guess it's going to be C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence and Will Levis in an air show in the AFC South. If you don't win 9 games this year, you're off pace.
And let's not forget, the Texans they're really going all in. They're putting the cards all on the table. Like they're
doing the rookie quarterback deal.
Yeah, they're going after it. They're going all in.
But the Texans got Calvin Ridley, who
Titans.
Yeah, sorry, the Titans. Titans got Calvin Ridley, which I know Alex from Kentucky is super stoked about. I don't know the last time Calvin Ridley played football, but I'm sure he was good.
No, he played last year.
Did he?
Didn't he?
I don't know. Did he?
Are you and I just completely out of the loop on this? He played for the Jags last year. Yeah, he had 1,000 yards.
Sick.
Which, by the way, like we've talked about this with running backs, we should do the same with receivers. We really got to adjust the 1,000-yard thing, especially when we hit 8. Now, whenever the NFL hits 18 games, we really got to adjust the 1,000 yards for receivers and running backs. When you have 2 full extra games, it's not nearly as cool. I'll tell you this, Alex from Kentucky, I'm definitely not picking the Titans to win that division. In fact, if you ask me right now, let's not forget the Colts still, I believe, did they finish 9-8? Did they finish like the Colts played the Titans? I'm sorry, the Texans. Didn't they play them that final game too? Or was it the Jets?
Correct.
Yeah. To go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they still held their own. In fact, if you ask me today, right now I'm picking the Titans to finish in the cellar, dead last. If you ask me today, now that can change. I'm going back. He's a moron.
Told you.
Sorry, Alex from Kentucky. Total moron.
Listen, I'm not here to shit on the Titans. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, same.
And I always kind of liked the Titans because I liked Vrabel. And I just really don't, I was always worried, like you every year it'd be like, oh, Trevor Lawrence. Every year it'd be like, oh, fucking, the Colts got Matt Ryan. Oh, they got Wentz. Oh, like every year it's always this story about like who's, and I was always like, man, the Titans just sneaky lurking with Vrabel in a run game, right? and now they don't have Vrabel or the beast that was their run game. And I'm supposed to like lean in on this.
No, I get Henry was old, and I get like I don't hate them letting him go because 30 is ancient in running back years. I don't hate that, but he has been reliable. And the truth is, he's one of those guys that I'll be real curious to see how he plays out this year with the Ravens.
Would you be more surprised if Derrick Henry, through like 15 games or 12 games or whatever, is leading the National Football League in rushing, and the story is that the Titans were dumb, they let this guy go, look what he's doing with Lamar Jackson, holy shit, beast mode? Would you be more shocked by that, or would you be more shocked if Calvin Ridley appears on SportsCenter twice in those 15 weeks?
Well, let's define appears. I don't
Like Calvin Ridley,
SportsCenter.
big touchdown. Like Calvin Ridley, like would you be more shocked if Calvin Ridley is a top 15 receiver in the league?
I'd be more shocked if Calvin Ridley was a top 15 receiver. That's a no-brainer.
Like, I forgot he was on the Jags last year.
I did too. The receivers are so deep now in the NFL.
I know.
It's so
That's
deep.
what I'm saying. I'm saying
Deep.
I'm saying you catch you receive 1,000 yards. Like, you don't make my fucking radar. Now, to be fair, I'm out of fantasy football. I don't do the fantasy thing, so I'm not going deep and lurking in the stats of guys who can help me in the third receiver spot or whatever. But it's like, if you're not a standout top 15 receiver in the league, or you're not making big plays in big games, like, you're just another guy. Like, this is the the Giants let Sterling Shepard go. Like, yeah, Giants fans are aware of it, but like,
well, I agree. It's you get lost in the mix, and there's such a difference. Let me put it this way. There's such a difference, in my opinion, and you'll probably agree. The difference between a Justin Jefferson and a Calvin Ridley, to me, is night and day.
oh, duh.
But my point is, it's just such a deep class. Even like a healthy losing my mind. It's Monday. Who's the guy? A healthy T. Higgins, in my opinion, is so much better than a Calvin Ridley.
Justin Jefferson had more yards than Calvin Ridley last year. He missed how many games?
Missed a lot of games. I don't know.
George Kittle had more receiving yards last year than Calvin Ridley. He's a tight end.
We all know a defense and a running game are the best friend to a young quarterback. And that's exactly what you have with Will Levis. And you're right. That was the identity of the Titans for so long. Defense, running game, defense, running game. And you're now going to air it out.
Now you have Will Levis and the 25th leading receiver in football last year. Air show.
And a coach who did not call plays the last 3 years as the air quotes OC. Come on. That's a cuck position, by the way. It should be called a CC, the cuck coordinator. It's a cuck move. I will play another call. It's non-football related. Brandon's getting a DeMar DeRozan call today.
Here we go. Is this a Kings fan?
Yeah.
Oh, no. What are we doing today? Is today fucking delusional fan base Monday?
No, Ruther, number one bud tender dirtball calling, Luca Cash Money. Just wanted to check because I haven't heard you guys talk about it yet. And This happened a while ago. Really, I'm calling for Prano because I know he's a basketball head, but I'm curious what you think the DeRozan trade does for the Kings. And
Nothing.
yeah, just wanted to get your outlook on that. I'm feeling pretty bullish on it because the Kings do get a lot of open mid-range shots in their offense. He's going to can a lot of those. So
Mid-range shots.
I am just curious if you think this is a step in the right direction or if you think that this is just another middling move for them. Anyways, condoms are for anybody else in the Pacific Division.
I mean, it's a middling move in that it is the definition of a middling move. You literally just were like, we're going to get some middle of the lane shots. You know, I was, and Luca, you are not like you are one of these guys. But 2 years ago, when you guys were the 2 seed, I predicted that you were going to have a fucking down year, and you goddamn did. And I was like, that's because this team isn't built like this. I don't see the young. I don't see like what the progression is here. It felt very fluky. I was right. Listen, DeMar DeRozan makes you better. There's no doubt about that. DeMar DeRozan is a good player and a great scorer, and he makes you better. But how much? Like, you're not, when you talk about, is it another middling move? Okay, well, what really even matters unless you're a playoff team, right? So let's just start there. If you're not a playoff team, get fucked entirely. Like you're not worth talking about. If you're not a playoff team, 10 teams make the playoffs. 10 teams make the playoffs. So the middle, we're talking 5, 6. Do I think you're a top 4 team in the West and therefore make the second round? No, I do not. So therefore, by definition, if you're not going to make the second round and you're not a top 4 team in the West, that means you are at highest 5th. 5th is smack dab in the middle of the 10 playoff teams. So yes, at best, I think this is a middling move.
He's just right. DeMar he's just not a move the needle guy.
He's a great player. He would be a great addition on a team he would be a great addition if he ended up on the fucking Nuggets. He'd be a great addition. He'd be a great addition on a team that is close and it's like, oh, our 2 guards a little lacking. Let's get a guy in here who can fill it up, who can take over games at times, who can be a bulk scorer. But is he a culture changer for the Sacramento Kings?
No. And the truth is they haven't had that as an organization. And
listen, the New York Knicks, I'm so excited about the New York Knicks, right? The Knicks go out and this year they add Mikal Bridges. Now let's take the Villanova thing out of it. And let's even take the defense thing out of it. Okay. From a scoring 2 guard standpoint, DeMar DeRozan's better than Mikal Bridges. So if DeMar DeRozan had joined the Knicks instead of Mikal Bridges, I would also be fucking stoked. Now, I'm more stoked because Mikal Bridges is also a pretty great wing defender and has the Villanova connection with those guys there. But let's just take it on the NBA offensive first league. Let's take it on. DeMar DeRozan's a better offensive player than Mikal Bridges. So if he joined the Knicks, of course, I'd be excited. Conversely, if Mikal Bridges had joined the Kings, he also does not put you guys into the top 4. The Knicks are right there. The Knicks are close. The Knicks could and did and need an upgrade at 2. You guys aren't there. You're not there. Who does this make you better than? Does it make you better than the Nuggets? Does it make you better than the Timberwolves? Does it make you better than the Mavericks?
Well, it's kind of like how we talk about how stacked the AFC is with some of these guys in football. Like who does this make you better than? You already still have those guys. I don't know why Sacramento has an organization, I'll be honest. Like, sorry, Luca. Like, I know I'm coming out of left field. Like, you didn't even want me involved in this, but it's an interesting town that we decided it's just so close to Oakland. I shouldn't say Oakland. God, I'm going back to San Francisco, where the Warriors are. It's just interesting that they decided Sacramento.
Now they support their team there.
Do they?
Yeah. And I like Sacramento as a city, actually. It used to be fucking trash. It's like on the come up for sure. But,
maybe I'm just hurt.
Adding DeMar DeRozan to the Sacramento Kings is like adding the Oakland A's to the minor league ballpark in Sacramento. Like, did it improve your city? Yeah. Okay. You guys have a baseball team for 2 years. Did it really improve your city? It's like, you're literally playing in a mid-range stadium.
Speaking of stadiums, did you see what the Chiefs are now trying to do? Since the voters overwhelmingly said they didn't want to pay for upgrades to Arrowhead.
No, what's going on?
These people are unbelievable. So the team president said on Friday, Mark Donovan, that they're going to decide on the future in the next 6 months. Now, their current lease goes through 2031. So their current lease still has, some time, but they want to know far ahead of time. And they're admitting that they got their ass kicked in this vote. Like, it was overwhelming. It was 58 to 42% as far as people the citizens of Kansas City who didn't want to pay for the upgrades. So now they're talking about the possibility of moving to Kansas because they'll pay for it.
Bullshit.
So it'd be next door. Obviously, there's Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. I mean, I agree. What's funny to me when I read these stories and I look at the comments, again, to me, there's nothing worse than being a shill for billionaire owners.
Yeah.
There's just nothing worse. And I've read a fair amount about it now. Everyone wants to bring up the economic impact on these teams. There's more than enough studies out there that show you if you're only going to do so many events a year, the economic impact isn't as big as people say. That's one of those lies that, well, if a team leaves,
we're going to bring the Final Four, we're going to bring this, we're going to bring that, we're going to bring whatever. It's like, what does that even do?
But don't get me wrong. It does move the needle those weekends at the local bars, the local restaurants. But if you're hosting 8 or 9 home football games a year, the point is a lot of economic studies will argue that you could do just as good, if not better, economic impact with those areas if you did other things, other developments. It's a common lie that's used, and people get scared and they fall for it. Like the city collapses. I don't know. It's cool having a pro team or pros teams. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That's cool. But don't act like the city collapses, like if a team leaves. Give us a ring, guys. 310-359-8365. That's the hotline. We're going to wrap it up. Joe is in New York, so I know he's got some shows.
Tonight I'll be at the Stand, Frantic at the Stand, 10 p.m. Best, one of the best shows in New York City, in my opinion. Free Monday show. Everybody comes back from their road gigs, their road weekends. A lot of big names drop in, and it's free. I think I'm closing it, so come check that out. Wednesday, if you're out on the east end of Long Island or anywhere on Long Island, head east. Basically, if you're not in Montauk, the show's going to be east of you. The comedy at Pox. Poxabog Golf Center. It's comedy at Pox on Instagram. I'm headlining that show. Bunch of great comics. Ted Jones is going to be on. Omar Jenkins, hosted, of course, by house host and good friend Pete Sestaro. And then this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Yonkers Comedy Club, Yonkers, New York. It's going to be some fun shows. So come out and see me there.
Word. All right, guys. That's our show. Enjoy your Monday. Have a great start to your week. We'll be back on Thursday. And as always, stay dirty.